Hi, Destin.
Greetings, Matt.
So we have a plan for this episode.
It's happening.
But I don't want to talk too much, so why don't you tell us what it's about?
Yeah, so we have a subreddit, the official subreddit where the post episode discussion takes place is r/NoDumbQuestions. Mm-hmm. But the unofficial subreddit, the unofficial official subreddit, because we're technically mods, is r/NDQ. And that's where like various and sundry topics can be discussed.
That's where the magic happens.
Yeah, it's kind of where the magic happens.
Depending on how you define magic.
That's right. So, yeah, someone in there was awesome enough to, let's see if we can get a name.
I got a name right here. The answer to your question is
MVOVIRI.
I'm going to say Mimvovery.
Yes, so Mr. Ovaries has done everything for us here. He's compiled all the questions that people make when they come to this subreddit, r/NDQ, and think it is r/NoStupidQuestions. And the way Reddit works, for those of you who may not use Reddit, is people will just wander into No Stupid Questions and they will ask whatever's on their mind, knowing that they will find no judgment from the people inside the subreddit. But they're confused. And so...
Because here you will find judgment. And tons of it. Most of it sounds like this. This is actually a subreddit dedicated to the podcast No Dumb Questions. You might want to try your question over at r/NoStupidQuestions.
Exactly.
Which actually doesn't sound that judgmental.
But the cool thing is people have embraced these wayfaring strangers. It's like, I don't know, to me it feels like an ancient traveler on a road stumbles into a bar for a pint, and they walk in and they're like, "Hey, I got a question." And
people, what ancient wayfarers did that?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of this motif. Oh yeah, like the ancient traveler who staggers in and, why do so many people like Star Trek? Like I'm just not familiar with that.
Is life in Scandinavia as good as Americans liberals claim?
Oh, come on over here, Bio. We'll have a conversation with you.
Hey, got a question real quick. Why are mid-length socks called crew socks? What is the
interesting questions?
They're fantastic questions.
But man, it really is like as a social situation goes, it is like somebody just staggered in out of nowhere to a fully functioning circle of people who are having a discussion. It's like, hey, also, where did crew socks come from? I'm sorry, and you were
we were talking about the Polish winged hussars saving Europe. Yeah, I know, but
what about these socks?
How do I buy
just talking
Adobe
about the
apps?
Chinese social credit system.
Okay, so we have agreed to go through several of these, and we're going to answer them because there's no dumb questions, right? We're going to go through these, and you're prepared, right?
Yes, even out of context questions aren't dumb questions, right?
Yeah, right. And so I've just gone through the list myself, and I've got several that I just want to talk about with you. Are you game for that? So we're going to answer all these kind travelers.
Okay, pump the brakes. We're not going to answer all of them, are we?
Oh, no, not all of them.
I mean, how many are there? Like 200 or something? I mean, it's not that much. Maybe 100?
I don't know. Mr. Ovary, he compiled what?
I don't think we want to call him Mr. Ovary. I don't think that's what I don't think it's Mr. Ovary. I think it's Mivovary.
You call him whatever you want. It's Mr. Ovary in my mind, and we're doing whatever we want. This is the unofficial official subreddit. So,
okay, all right.
How would you like to do this? Would you like to just go back and forth, and you take a drunken stranger question, and then I do the same, and we just roll down the mix, or what do you want to do?
Okay, I actually did mark some of these down that I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a run at. And
I prepared.
So did you prepare with like questions that are in your wheelhouse?
Kinda, but then some I just want to talk to you about because we're friends, right? And I just want to just talk it out.
It's always weird when you say because we're friends, and then
I have to like keep convincing you.
Like still. Yeah, we are friends, my friend, and I would be happy to talk about friend things with a friend like you. So I got some questions. Let's just bounce back and forth, but let's do this. Let's ask the question of the other person before we speak to the question we picked ourselves. Does that make sense?
That sounds great to me. But what I'm going to do is every time I ask a question, I'm going to act like I just stumbled in out of the cold.
Oh, okay. Where are you going to be from?
Just different places. It just depends.
Okay. I'm going to do the same because I think it'll be weird if we don't.
Yeah.
Which means you'll also need to probably play the barkeep whenever I'm asking questions.
Okay, cool.
What can I get for you, sir?
I got a question, man.
Sure. How can I help?
What impact does lifespan have on being human? That was more fun than I thought it would be.
I had anticipated you asking a question about our menu or drinks. I did not anticipate that.
No. Oh, so, okay, my name is Chester Cat 1. That's cat with a K. So, based off of what we know about people over the course of history, what would civilization look like if we lived a notably shorter or longer amount of time? It's probably pretty easy to think about a short lifespan, but what if you lived to be 500 years old as a standard?
Whoa.
Barkeep.
Well, first of all, Cat, what was it?
Cheshire Cat 1.
Cheshire Cat 1.
Yeah. This was a month ago that Cheshire Cat stumbled into the subreddit and asked this. I like the question. So what do you think about it?
I think it would really change the way we prioritize. So, you know, I do some counseling and stuff as part of my job.
Yeah,
and
pastor.
When you lay awake at night and you think about all the things that you've heard from all the people and all the things we deal with, you kind of start to see patterns. Like, oh, there's this category of problem and there's this category of problem. But then you start eventually to lump the categories into categories until eventually you figure out it's all because you're going to die someday.
Oh, yeah, this is your theory on life in general, that it's this slow, steady march toward death that motivates people to do things.
The glacier that is the source of all the streams that come down the mountain in different ways and manifest in different ways is death.
Really?
I kind of think so. Some people say it's sex. I think people like that a lot. I'm a fan. But I think death is a more lingering, lifelong motivator. And I think even those things that are stuff that we do out of passion or pursuit, if you had 500 years, I mean, what's the rush? You'll get around to it, right?
I've often thought, okay, so in the Bible, there are several people that lived, well, I guess before Genesis chapter 6 in the Bible, there are people that lived a really long time, like hundreds and hundreds of years. I think Methuselah was, 900 and something? You're supposed to know this. You went to college for this.
Yeah, I definitely know all of those.
Yeah.
It was like a millennium is the claim. It's the way the story goes.
Basically. So I've often thought when I'm driving down the road and like grandma is in front of me in her Cadillac going really, really slow, I've often thought, she's not in a hurry because, she's been alive for 70 years. Like, she's eventually going to get to wherever she's going, and she's not, like, rushing to get there because whatever she's going to do is going to happen one way or another, whether it's today or tomorrow, whatever. And I've often thought about what would happen if you're just like, you've got the ox goad and you're flicking the back of your ox to get your ox cart going, and you pull behind the ox cart of Methuselah.
Mercy.
You know what I mean? And you're
come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. This Joker's been everywhere, seen everything. It kind of reminds me of Highlander. You've watched the Highlander stuff, right?
Who wants to live forever? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They had a Scotsman play the Egyptian who trained the English guy who played a Scotsman. You had Sean Connery, and you didn't have him play the Highlander.
Well, tell me
yes,
this.
I've seen the Highlander.
So the Highlander is, I'm kind of fuzzy on the story. It's these guys that live forever, and there's only a few of them on Earth. And
there can be only one.
And if they kill another Highlander, then they take his power?
I think so.
But
I just remember Christopher Lambert and Lightning, and wasn't the bad guy called like the Kurgan or something?
No, seriously, I'm even fuzzy on the story details and like the rules of how it works. But long story short, if they chop off the head of another one, they behead him, they take his power, and then they live forever. And one of the things I do remember, though, is that these people would live throughout different periods of time, and their loved ones would come and go and die, not unlike how dogs are in our lives.
Yeah. And that made me feel stuff when I watched that movie for the first time as a young man. And you have that Queen anthem, Who Wants to Live Forever, over the top. And then it's like the aging happens, and it was super sad. And then I felt the same stuff again in Benjamin Button, when they have the moment where they pass at the same age, and then it goes the other way. Super sad, man.
I've not seen that. Yeah. So how would your life be different?
Not, but it's interesting.
How would your life be different? How would you approach life differently if you knew you would live for several hundred years instead of, max 800?
Let's game that out just a little. Okay, let's say 1,000-year life. All right.
Yeah.
So if this was your death year, 2019, and you'd lived 1,000 years, that means you were born in 1019. So if we go with a ratio of 100-year life, that means when you were when you were a kid, an elementary school kid, let's say you're in Europe, you were watching the Crusades unfold.
Oh, wow.
So Richard III, the Lionheart, he would have been your king when you were the equivalent of 9. I mean, you would have been 90 or something like that. But, he would have been like your kid king, right?
Yeah.
And then you would have seen that get resolved. You would have seen the Reconquest. So the Muslims in Spain and Portugal, you would have seen them driven out. You would have seen the Inquisition as a teenager. You would have seen the Italian Renaissance as a 20-year-old college kid through your 30s. That would have been like the soundtrack of your 20s, would have been the Italian Renaissance. The Reformation would have happened when you were a middle-aged man with a family. You would have seen the authority of the Catholic Church crumble. You would have seen the 30 Years' War as a man in his early 60s. You would have seen the invention of steam power as a man in his 70s or 80s. You would have seen the liberal revolutions of the West in the 70s and 80s. And as a very old man, you would have seen all the inventions of the 20th century, right on up from flight and automobiles all the way up to cell phones. So I don't know, I guess I could bounce the question back to you in light of that. If you lived 1,000 years and that was how your decades spanned out, how would that affect the way you lived?
What I like about the way you viewed it is you didn't have the person go through puberty and mature like in 20 revolutions around the sun.
Right.
You had the person, you stretched out the maturing process as well. I don't think that would work because people do dangerous stuff when they're young.
Oh, great point. Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't get through your teenage years.
You wouldn't, no.
That's 10 times more opportunities to get killed ramping your bike off of something.
Yeah, war would mean a lot more, wouldn't it?
Oh, if you took a life, it would mean more.
Yeah.
You're depriving somebody of 900 years if you took their life as a 100-year-old man.
Yeah.
What about women? Oh, dude. What about women? How long do they get to have babies?
Oh, man.
Do we spread that out the same amount of time?
Oh, holy moly,
they
dude.
Start having babies at 140 and they can have babies safely until they're like 450? I mean, that's so many babies.
And if you got married to one person. Wow,
that's a long run.
I could do 2 of those lifetimes with my wife.
Well played. I got to say,
what do you mean
I'm
well played? You act like that was
out.
strategy because I know she's going to be listening to this someday, and I was planning ahead. I mean, that's
no,
dude.
I would never accuse you of such forethought, calculation, and good judgment.
It would change things for sure. I think there would be less war because I believe people would realize that trends in thought would come and go. So I think people would be more level-headed for sure.
Well, trends in thought wouldn't come and go at the same rate. Can you imagine having the moral grounding and clarity and patience? Can you imagine having all the strengths of the previous generations and all the strengths of the right now generation all mushed into one person?
Man.
So instead of societal conflict between young and old, and you wouldn't nickname a new generation every 8 years for crying out loud and then pit them against each other like we do now. They'd all have all of those attributes. I think you'd have some quality people.
I think that's why, in general, in my life, I try to maintain an eternal perspective. I attempt to do that. I don't know, I believe in souls. And so I think that things that I do now have consequences for longer than the time I'm on Earth. And so I try to treat people as if the same is true for them. And so, I don't know. I think I would value the same things, me personally. I don't know. That's an interesting question.
I don't know if I would.
Yeah?
I think I would. I'd like to hope I would.
Yeah.
You've given me a lot to think about. This was a fun exercise.
Thanks, Mr. Cheshire Cat, for stumbling into our bar. Okay, you got the box there?
I do. I'm excited about this.
Okay, so here's the deal. I have been sponsored on Smarter Every Day for quite a while by a company called Casper. They make mattresses, and we are super excited that they have decided to sponsor the podcast. And do you know anything about this? Like, what do you know about a Casper mattress?
All I know is that you have them and you like them, and I've been jealous and wanting to try one, and today is my day.
Yeah, so the cool thing is they literally ship you a box with a mattress in it. And is it sitting right there in front of you?
Yeah, it's a box that I assume has a mattress in it, but it does not look like a mattress could fit in here.
What do you mean? It's
It
just
is not a mattress-sized box, is my point. It's a manageable box. Okay, cool.
So
all right.
you're going to open the box?
Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
So here's the deal with Casper. Casper mattresses are engineered. Like they have this, it's almost like a whole engineering team that figures out how sleep works and how...
Oh, wait.
What?
I'm sorry, I know you're saying something that's really important.
Yeah.
They sent me a card.
Oh.
There's a card right on top. It has a little heart on it. It's really nice. This is wonderful branding. There's a little card. It's like, welcome to Casper. And there's a heart sleeping on a mattress.
It's endearing.
And then there's people of all like different persuasions from all around the world, and they're all cuddled up on the mattress together. This is really tasteful. I like it.
Yeah, they do a good job.
I got a note from the founders, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so did
A
it...
poster? Okay.
Just open the box. People want to get back to the drunken people staggering into the bar, but just open the box. Okay.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
All right, so the way Casper works is they have the right amount of bounce and firmness. And so it's interesting. It's a foam, but it doesn't get hot. It's breathable, so it regulates your body temperature. Yeah. And
that sounds good.
The coolest part about this thing is that there's a 100-night sleep guarantee. You get to sleep on it for 100 nights, and if you don't like it, they'll come get it and take it back. Like, you don't even have to box it up. They'll do it. So here, they want me to say this specific sentence. You can be sure of your purchase with Casper's 100-night risk-free sleep on it trial. So are you, like, do you have it out of the box yet?
Yeah, I'm gutting this box. It's about ready to roll out here.
Okay, so you should be able to cut the plastic bag open, and the moment that you do that, it's going to let air into the mattress, and it's going to unroll. You've never, yeah, it's amazing. Just to be clear, you have like your box springs there, and you've got this cylindrical mattress in the plastic wrapping on the bed.
Yeah, it looks kind of like a tackling dummy in football or a punching bag.
Mm-hmm. Just put it on the bed, line it up, and then you're just going to walk up to it, and you're going to cut it open, and it's going to self-inflate.
I am popping this open. Oh my goodness, it's just taking off, dude. Oh, that's so cool. That's so incredibly satisfying.
Yeah.
It's just a mattress is materializing before my eyes. It's a really satisfying sound. Shh, listen. Can you hear it?
I can't, but it's really fun.
This is awesome, man.
I know. So here's some things I'm supposed to be talking about while you're doing that. So
all right.
Casper cuts out the middleman, so it's affordable and hassle-free returns, like we mentioned, delivered right to your door in a really small, how'd they do that size box. Would you agree that it's like, how the heck did they get that in that box?
Yeah, the math on it didn't work to me, and it still didn't until I actually just inflated it a second ago. And now it works. I get it.
It's got over 20,000 reviews on Amazon, Casper's website themselves, and Google. And over those 20,000 views, it's got a review of 4.8 stars.
Nothing gets 4.8 stars over that sample size.
No, nothing does. There's several different types. There's the original. There's one called the Wave that's good for side sleepers. There's another one called the Essential. Anyway, you can go to their website and check it out and figure it all out. The way it works is you can get $50 off select mattresses by visiting casper.com/NDQ and using NDQ at checkout for no dumb questions. Terms and conditions apply. How's it looking on your end?
This is ready to collapse onto. Are you ready for the sound of me getting onto this mattress for the first time?
I'm ready.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, no joke. This is an upgrade.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
You can get any size. They have like, you know, all the way down something for the kids, all the way up to like a California King. You can get whatever you want. Again, get $50 towards select mattresses by visiting casper.com/NDQ and using NDQ at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. One more pro tip, Matt, because I know this is your first Casper. I've been using them for a while. They also sell pillows on the website. They didn't tell us to talk about that, but I'm telling you about that. They have a soft pillow on the outside of a firm pillow, and it's like legit engineered. So the way they say it is every side of the pillow is the cool side of the pillow because of the way they designed it. So
dude, I'm not kidding, man. Like I could fade out for the night right here.
It's good, isn't it?
Okay, casper.com/NDQ, and then you enter NDQ at checkout. Did I get that right?
Yep, that's how it works.
Because honestly, I'm fading a little bit here.
Sweet.
Thanks, Casper. This is awesome.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the Twisted Knuckle. I'm really busy. A lot of people here. What can I do for you?
Okay, so like I have a question, I guess, about like how. Okay, do you watch like movies or anything?
No.
Okay, so do you read like books or anything?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, did you ever read that Jim Toker book about like the ring battles and what? The ring guy?
Yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah, totally. Got
I know. Yeah, that's what I said. Did you ever see the one about Bilbo?
Yeah, Bilbo Baggins got it. Sir, can you hurry up? I got other patrons
so
over there.
So anyways, like what I was wondering about is like how does Bilbo wear the ring? Because like when Frodo wears the ring, it's like the eye can see him and then sends evil creatures to capture the ring. But how is it that Bilbo could previously wear the ring? Like even at his own birthday party, he had a birthday party in there, and then not be seen by the eye. Did you ever think about that?
Hey, get this guy some coffee, sir. Here, just drink this. We're not going to talk about this right now. Just drink this, and you're going to be fine. What was your name, by the way, sir?
My name's Patroller.
Is it really?
It is.
No way. Somebody named Boner Patroller showed up in the subreddit and asked how Bilbo's ring... Are you serious? Thank you. We're not going to talk about that, but that's great.
Wait, what? No, we're not going to talk about that? Seriously?
Okay. I mean, God, it was such a struggle for you to get that question out. I was having an issue over here.
You know why I did it that way?
Because it would bother me?
Because I knew you'd have an issue.
Yeah, it bothered me. It was
okay.
I'm an engineer. You must communicate in sentences quickly and clearly. Okay, so let me understand the question. So
okay, yeah.
Are we talking about Lord of the Rings? Or are we talking about
both? So in The Hobbit,
yeah,
Bilbo finds the ring in the cave and puts it on, and it doesn't summon the Nazgul and all of Sauron's minions, right?
Okay.
But then when Frodo inherits the ring from Bilbo in Fellowship of the Ring, the first of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and he puts it on, he goes into this like weird netherworld place, and like the bad guys can see him and Sauron can track him from there. And so it's really bad for him to put the ring on, whereas like Bilbo just goofs around with the ring whenever he wants, like even to just duck out of his own birthday party. Is that all making sense?
It is. I didn't remember all that, but it makes sense. So why... I don't know. I don't know enough about Tolkien to answer that question.
Okay, so I think, and I did not go and dig around at this, but I think that the deal was that Sauron just hadn't marshaled his forces. It wasn't like Sauron was this evil that had existed forever. Like somehow he returned, and maybe that's explained in there somewhere, and he was gaining this power, and he was like making an army at the time. And the Nazgul, they're like the human ring lords, I think, who'd been like corrupted by the power of the ring. And so I would guess that Sauron wasn't powerful enough to be looking for the ring or to have his gaze reach that far yet, but then it did by the time that Frodo inherited the ring. That would be my guess.
Cool. I'm going to have to...
But you know why I'm asking you?
Why?
It has nothing to do with that. In my freshman philosophy class, I got asked a question that I thought was really interesting about this ring. And the question was, you got a ring, just like the Lord of the Rings ring, that you can put on and it makes you invisible. But instead of making you invisible to the eye, it makes you entirely invisible morally. How would that change the way you live?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Morally invisible, not just no consequences, no guilt. It's a moral invisibility ring.
Dude, that's crazy. I don't know, dude. I mean, my heart is corruptible for sure. So I have to believe that it would affect me negatively. I have to believe that.
I got to think if I didn't have to answer for anything ever to anyone, that would have a negative effect on my conduct.
Yeah, I mean, power corrupts. Ultimate power corrupts. No, wait. How do I say it? Hold on. Let me get this right.
Lord Acton's axiom, absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yeah, I have to think that would be a form of ultimate absolute power. It would corrupt me. I've got to be honest there.
So now imagine if that was coupled with a 1,000-year lifespan.
Yeah.
That's why I went with that question next.
That'd be messed up, man.
Because it's like the two things that restrict our behavior, right? Like death and accountability would both be gone in that scenario.
That's why, accountability is kind of built in, right?
How do you mean?
I mean, there's a dozen different ways to see it. I don't want to go into it without ramping up the JPMs, but I think it's built in. You could argue the existence of a moral law. You can argue all that stuff. But, if you put a ring on and that went away, boy, it'd get dark quick.
I think so too. And I think the exercise is interesting, and we don't need to play it all out here, but I think the exercise is interesting for us, for the third chair, because it really does make you think through, okay, so I do some good things. Why? Okay, so I don't do some bad things. Why? And I think we'd all like for the answer to be, because I'm a decent person. And maybe that is part of it. But there might be a motivating factor that makes us seem like decent people that is entirely external. I didn't like the exercise when it came up, but it was a very formative, important day of class for me.
Yeah. That makes you think about yourself in a way that we're not normally trained to do. So I could see how that'd be a big deal.
You guys started talking about stupid crap about like morality or whatever. I'm going to go talk to those guys over there at that table about Bilbo more.
Sounds good, man.
So,
yeah, here, put your hand right here on this coffee. Take that. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Oh, it's really freaking hot, dude.
You get a pretty good stoner voice. Okay, so I'm walking into the bar.
And what can I do for you, good sir?
Dude, quick. Just not a lot of time here. Just straight up answer. Does revving your engine charge your car battery faster? I need to know quick. What's the deal?
Wow. Not the question I anticipated. Normally people ask for alcohol. That said, whether it makes a difference or not, it's something I do whenever I'm jump starting another vehicle. So my heart tells me yes, but I know a science guy. Just a minute. Destin, does revving your car engine make your car battery charge faster?
Yeah, totally does. Yeah, and so it's your alternator, right? Your alternator, you rev that thing, you spin that thing harder and faster. Yeah, you make more current.
It makes sense because, like, even if you're running a little low on like battery juice and you rev that, like your lights will go a little brighter. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the alternator thing, I've heard of those. I kind of know how they work, but I didn't really think about that.
So current is directly related to the speed of an alternator, which is a DC motor. It's like shoveling more electrons into the battery bucket. Does that make sense?
I've got your answer for you, young sir. This gentleman over here says there's some sort of fancy math formula that indicates that if you do rev that engine faster, you will get more battery faster.
There you go. Thanks, man. I'm out.
That one was actually really easy.
Mm-hmm. Hey, man. Welcome to the Twisted Knuckle. What can I get for you?
Hi, my name's Way to Go, Larry. And can you look at this? Look at this. Does that look weird to you? Right there. No, let me pull my collar down.
Sir,
it's
put
on
your
my
pants...
neck.
Oh, it's
no,
not, yeah.
Don't look at that. Look at this here. Does that look weird? Can you see that?
Sir, that is what you call a hickey.
Yeah, it is. So I was making out with. So something happened. I was goofing around with a vacuum cleaner, and that happened.
Yeah.
And I have like a job interview that I have to go to, but should I go to the job interview?
Yeah, just wear a turtleneck. You'll be fine, man.
But then I'd be wearing a turtleneck.
What is the question?
Would you hire a man who's wearing a turtleneck?
Probably not. I don't know. If it's a black one and he's wearing blue jeans without a belt, then probably. He probably knows how to make phones really well.
Would you hire a man who has a hickey?
Is that what the question is? What is the question?
Yeah.
Brett, bust out a character, man. I want to talk to you.
My name's Way to Go Larry, and I have a hickey.
What is the question?
The question is, I want to go in for an interview, but I have a hickey on my neck. You can totally tell it's there. Should I wait for it to go away, or should I just go for it?
First of all, this was written by a 12-year-old who wants to, like, I bet this is the kind of thing adults ask.
Yeah, this is what we talk about at our soirees.
The answer is it doesn't matter. You're not going to get the job anyway. A hickey. Have you ever thought about how, I mean, like, a hickey, you know?
Is a hickey just a bruise, a suction bruise?
It is. One time as a joke, I told Tara, this is, totally should not do this. I'm like, I'm going to give you a hickey. She's like, no. I'm like, here comes. And I started running at her.
Wait, you made like a mouth shape and chased her?
It was funny. It was so funny. Hold on just one second. I have an idea. Do you have a stopwatch?
Yeah, I can make that happen. What do you want me to do?
You just hit go, and I'll give you updates, okay?
Okay, I'm hitting go. When?
3, 2, 1.
1. Go. Oh, no.
Okay, I got it.
A vacuum, Hickey?
I have a shop vac on my arm.
Oh, no. Wait, how far up your arm did you go? Is it hideable with the sleeve?
Yeah, forearm. Left forearm.
Forearm? You can't... Everybody's going to see that.
I'm going to wear a turtleneck for my arms.
Oh, dear.
Tell me when 30 seconds is up.
Okay. I'll let you know when 30 seconds is up.
No, seriously. I need it at an exact time. Don't joke around with me. We're taking data.
You're done. Stop.
Okay. Okay, so I would say not Hickey.
No. Okay.
Okay, so
right.
we're going to go another 30. Hold on.
Well, wait, did you have a full seal? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've got a full seal.
Are you positive?
100%. Yeah,
Okay.
It looks like this shop vac, we had a water heater leak, and a plumber came over, and it looks like they used this to suck water up in the floor.
Right.
So the end of it is there's a seal.
Okay. Like all your skin's kind of pulling up into there?
Exactly.
Okay.
So when my wife told me this story, but you know those little what are they called?
1 minute. Stop.
We're going a minute and a half. What are those things called that you flip them inside out and you set them on a table and they pop up in the air?
Yeah, little
popper things?
Nipple poppers. Popper punchers.
My wife stuck one on her knee one time and fell asleep and woke up, and she thought like it was bad.
Yeah, you hear about that happening.
Are we at a full minute yet?
No, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, why did you assume? No, I'll definitely tell you now. Go, stop.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know why you're doing that on your forearm.
I just wanted to see.
Abdomen, small of the back.
No, nothing happened, dude. I'll take a picture and tweet it right now.
Literally nothing.
Yeah, there's
How
just
does
like
Hickey even? How much work does that take?
That was my point. I wanted to know.
Hang on a second. I can reach my bicep here. This actually kind of hurts.
Dude, you could probably get more. Yeah, you could probably get more suction pressure like that. Because if you think about it, the motor on the shop vac is powered by. Are you making the squeaking noises? You don't have to. You don't have to make squeaking noises. You can just pull the vacuum in your mouth. So, are you doing bicep? So, like, you have to intentionally work very, very hard to make a hickey happen.
You got to work hard to make a hippie too. Check this out though. Oh my goodness, my face. Like my mouth feels really bad. It's tired.
Just do this. Tweet me a picture on the No Dumb Questions Twitter account.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna put my tweet is data ... one. It was 1:30, right?
That I was sucking on my bicep?
No, for me with the shop vac.
Yeah, total of 1:30. I don't know what I got in, maybe like 20 seconds, and my face started hurting too much. Yeah, you can see it. No, there it is. Right, I'm tweeting you this.
So, how does a hickey happen? First of all, like I mean, you have to intentionally make it happen, right?
It made my face and arm hurt, and I didn't feel pleasure.
It's always like when I was a young person, it was an inside joke of, oh, so and so has a hickey. But then as I matured into an adult, I realized that's the dumbest thing ever, and the only reason you would do it is if you were like spray painting graffiti on the side of a building. That's the only reason you do it. You try to mark your territory with a hickey.
Right, yeah, it's a mark of grotesque ownership.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're in agreement that hickeys are dumb.
Yeah, and what it would tell me is that if you came in, literally, if you came in for a job interview and you've got a hickey, it tells me you're in a horribly unhealthy relationship, and that it's very likely that the train wreck that is your relationship is probably going to bleed over into your work. So wear the turtleneck.
Okay, good. I'm glad we handled that.
Yeah. Way to go, Larry.
Have you tweeted it yet? I'm looking.
Yeah, I tweeted it. Well, I tweeted it at No Dumb Questions.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, you see that thing?
That's really nasty. I'm glad we did this. I feel closer to you now.
Yeah, me too.
Whose turn is it to ask a question?
It's your turn to stagger into the bar.
Oh, God, it's cold out there.
What can I get for you, my man?
Here's the deal. I know it's weird to ask this up front, but...
Probably is going to be weird.
Yeah, can you guys solve a question for me and my girlfriend? Is it customary to tip on the subtotal or the total? I mean, like, hey, guys, I know this question that my girlfriend and I can never agree on. Let's say you're supposed to tip on the subtotal is what I always tell her, but she thinks it's the total. So who's right? And do you count drinks in tipping? I say no, but she says yes. So how does that work?
As a bartender, I'm something of an authority on this, and it's definitely on the total. Further, we tend to recommend tipping not just on that which you ordered, but that which you considered ordering. Thanks for your question.
What do you do? Like, how much do you normally tip?
My standard number is 20%, and
yeah,
it takes a lot for me to tip well below that, but if it goes really, really badly, I will drop below that. If it goes really well or there's something unique about the situation, I'll do way better than that.
Yeah. What's the worst is when the kitchen has a really bad night, but the waiter or the waitress is like the front person that has to be the middle, stuck in the middle on that whole gig, And so you had bad service, so you want to, let someone know, but the waiter is trying hard. So like, what do you do? So yeah. I always just I just chalk this up as an L, and I'll just tip them well and move on.
Yeah, if somebody does if I'm in that situation, I'll leave one of those little Christian tracts that looks like a $20 bill, but is actually just the message of Jesus.
Yeah,
that's how I let you know I hated your work.
I'm told that's how so many people decide to go to church. Yeah, no,
who even prints those? Oh, just strategically. What is going on in the brain of the person who's like, I bet this would work?
How do we make people hate Christians? That's what they're thinking.
The only right way to leave that is with a crisp 100 right next to it. So somebody's like, I got $120. Oh, well, I got $100 in religious proselytizing. Yeah, I'll still take it.
So So here's the question: do you tip pre-tax or post-tax?
I've never even thought about it. I just tip on whatever the total is.
Okay.
So I guess I tip on tax. Yeah, people are benefiting for the government taxing me. Interesting.
Yeah, because you hate taxes. I figured you would not tip someone else against.
You're trying to bait me into something that then you'll be disappointed in me. I see how it is. Nope. No, I'm not taking the bait. I love taxes, and I think that we could all use a little bit more of that right now.
Okay.
That's my opinion, for real. It's what I actually think right now. So you got nothing on me.
Well done. All right. I think it's your turn to stumble into the bar.
I think it is. Do you have a question for me? Hey, somebody help me. Please, my name is It's Mespa24. It's an absolutely desperate situation.
Calm down. Come here. Come up to the bar. What can I do to help you?
I need to know how a bill passes through government. My girlfriend has an assignment which she has to propose a bill reforming euthanasia laws, but what would the process be for creating the bill to it being implemented? Thank you.
Did it sound really desperate when they asked it?
Yeah, it really did. It really did. It sounded like there was some real urgency to this question.
Hey, quick, do my homework. So that's what that one was.
Yes, that's exactly, or my girlfriend's rather, which will free her up to give me hickeys.
So what I would suggest is I would immediately forward the Schoolhouse Rocks "I'm Just a Bill" song to this person. That's what they need in their life.
Did you ever see the SNL executive order Schoolhouse Rock?
Oh no, that sounds amazing. Well,
okay,
see, when was it written? That matters.
It was during Obama, which is really interesting. It was a rare point of seeming pushback on the Obama administration. It was funny. Yeah, basically you've got this kid, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here in the steps of the Capitol building. How does bill become law?" And this bill walks out, and he's like, "Well, son, here's how it works. Ta-da, I'm an amendment to be," or whatever he does, and all of this stuff. And then this kind of fat guy with smoking a cigarette comes out dressed up as a bill, and the kid's like, "Hey, what are you?" And he's like, "I'm an executive order." And the song kicks up, and he's like, "I'm an executive order, and I pretty much just happen." And
the song's over.
That's it. Then he smokes a cigarette some more.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it made me happy.
It makes you wonder how. Yeah, I mean, the executive order thing is very, very strange, and this goes back to your nail saw gun bat discussion that we've had several times off air.
Yeah.
You know, you make a good point that whoever is in power at the time, they go for whatever power is necessary in order to get their ideas to be the rule for everyone.
Because they're definitely right.
Exactly. But once you free up those mechanisms in order to do it, as you correctly brought to my attention, because I'd never thought about it this way, as soon as those mechanisms exist and the person is out of power, those mechanisms then exist for the next person, who more often than not is your political opponent. So in general, it's a bad thing to make, overarching executive, omnipotent power for any one group, because, at some point in the future, another group's going to have it, and they're not going to like what you think.
Yep. Process is very... When I took my first government class in college, I did a poli-sci minor. The prof kept pushing this idea of process is so important. Process. And I was like, I don't care about process. I care about issues. Like, this thing is right and this thing is wrong, and somebody needs to do something about that. And she wouldn't let us... I figured political science, we'll just debate stuff like a cable news show, and we'll yell at each other, and it'll be great. But all she wanted to do was explain processes and checks and balances and all of this. And I didn't get it. Never did get it. Graduated without getting it. I think I'm starting to get it. Like, if one president says to his base, like, "Hey, I'm going to get you the thing you want using this mechanism that's kind of weird," the base might be excited about it, but they won't be excited about it when the next president does it for the opposite kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Process is good. Is that the point? So how does a bill become law? Do you remember this from civics?
Yeah. Any member of Congress can create the law and submit it, and it has to be approved in that particular house first. And then if it passes there, it goes to the other house. For example, the House of Representatives has to approve it. And if they do, then it would move forward and go to the Senate, right? And if they agree on it, and then at that point, it can be signed into law by the executive branch. Yeah,
there can be a few detours along the way. Like, so if one house, obviously we're talking about the United States system here, but if one of our houses of government passes it, the other might come back with amendments or pass it with amendments, and then you would have to have another committee come together. And then usually after a bill is introduced by a member of Congress, it goes to an appropriate subcommittee that deals with that category of bill first. And so a lot of proposed bills die in committee before they ever make it to a vote. So there's there are lots of places for that to get killed. And then obviously the president has to sign off on it in our system. And if he signs off on it, it becomes law. If the president does not sign off on it or rejects it, officially vetoes it, it becomes not law, goes back to the House and the Senate. Do you remember what the percentage is that they have to pass it by to beat him?
I thought it's 2/3.
Very well done. Very well done. Yep.
Well, one thing that's interesting to me is that, for example, in our states, I'm in Alabama, you're in Wyoming, the governor has something called line item veto.
Yeah.
So you can go in there, and that's pretty interesting, isn't it?
It's one of those things where you swallow a spider to catch a fly in terms of the process. So you've heard of like the term omnibus bill?
No, I've heard the term, yes. What does it mean?
This is the bill that we tend to do once a year, and it's like everything everybody wants all at once. So I think the pure way to think of a bill is like, oh, like this guy is in our discussion here. It's like, well, you know, there should be a law about killing the elderly. So we'll just make a law about, or bill about that, and then we'll pass it, and that'll be it. Except that bill is probably going to include like some soybean subsidy for southern Minnesota also.
Right.
Wait, what? Why? I thought we were talking about whether or not it was okay to put down the elderly. Why are we doing soybean stuff now? And the reason is that this is where all of the political favors are exchanged, and that grosses some people out. It's also kind of how compromise works. And so the omnibus bill is like this monster bill with 1 billion things in it. Nobody has enough time to read these kind of bills. They're huge, and these are usually your spending bills. So when your government shutdown stuff happens, a lot of times it's around these very multifaceted bills. So the idea is if you have a line item veto, you can kill the stuff you don't want. But I don't know, can you guess why people don't like the line item veto?
Yeah, it puts way more power in the hands of the governor.
So are you for it?
If I was governor, I'd be for it.
That's so the right answer.
It really
Dude,
is.
that is so the right answer.
It really is.
Yeah, and the thing is then if you pass a multifaceted bill where, say it has 5 elements and it's a good piece of legislation where all 5 has to happen or this doesn't work, and then you have a line item veto, would you ever even bother passing the bill?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, that when government's working well and you have people that are actually compromising with each other. You know, one thing I heard that was rather interesting. Back in the day, senators and representatives lived in D.C., but now they all get on planes and they go home. Was this Ben Sass that said this in that book? Them?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the point he was making is that these people are not communing with each other. They're not eating at each other's houses. They're not, supporting each other in community. So there's less of that give and take that's going on. I found that to be very, very interesting. And it made me think about what I would do if I was ever a lawmaker representing a state, or if I was a governor and all this stuff. How would you approach these things? And sitting on the outside looking in, you say things like, oh man, these people aren't getting stuff done, blah, blah, blah. But
some of us like that.
Yeah. To me, when you go in, I don't know. I wonder if it would be like stepping in the La Brea tar pits when you walk into the House or the Senate, right? And then all of a sudden the gravity hits you of what's going on. Like every president, if at the inauguration of every president, it's interesting because the president that's leaving usually has a smile on their face, and the president that's arriving is usually like, oh man, I caught the garbage truck. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, yeah, this just got real. And so they're not smiling.
I mean, watching Ben Sass's career, he is from
Nebraska.
Yeah, but I don't know how many districts there are. So he would be from like, I don't know what you call it, like the 2nd district of Nebraska. So the first would probably be Omaha. It's the big town. The 2nd is Lincoln, and I think he's from Lincoln. And then I think the 3rd district includes Grand Island, where I used to live. And the representative from Grand Island when I was there to the U.S. House of Representatives was Tom Osborne. You ever heard that name?
No, I haven't.
That totally surprises me. You're kind of a college football fan. He is the longtime legendary Nebraska Cornhuskers football coach.
Oh, yeah. Well, he doesn't matter because he's not Bear Bryant. He's not Nick Saban. So, yeah.
Okay.
So you're not talking about like real football. You're talking about...
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we're talking about only like a few national championships,
okay,
not
cool.
every year, except this year.
That hurt. Go ahead.
What? Facts. My team won 5 games, then gave up a 35-3 lead on homecoming week and lost out the rest of the season and didn't go to a bowl. So it could be worse, buddy.
That's rough.
The point is, Tom Osborne is a really optimistic, beloved dude in Nebraska. And, he went off with all of this optimism. And I mean, he's had a little office in this little kind of strip mall office area next to Sonic out there in Grand Island. And he was going to be like man of the people and all of this stuff. And he went, and it was a dumpster fire. And I think he only did 1 term and just came home and was like, wow, I ain't fixing that. And I think Ben Sass a little bit when he went felt great optimism. And he's trying hard. I don't agree with all of his politics for sure. I like his attitude, but I sense discouragement in him after reading his book. I think it is like the tar pits a little bit. It's an icky, difficult place to get things done.
Yeah.
To do good, I should say. To do good. It's a difficult place.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't help you with your paper, sir, but yeah, have a good one.
Schoolhouse Rock, that'll get it done. I learned what I need to. My girlfriend will be thrilled.
Great Scott! What? Hey, I need an expert. Is there someone in here?
I can serve mixed drinks.
Do you know anything about solar winds?
No, sir. I know things about mixed drinks.
This is my question. So, can you generate lift using solar winds? I mean, if you think about it, by the way, my name is Tater Attack. While sailing in water on Earth, you can tack, like back and forth. You know what's up, which is, blah, blah, blah. You've got this wing, the sail, and you got lift. But if you're sideways and then using the keel to travel into the wind, here's my question. Oh, I don't know why you're looking at me like that, but can you generate lift with these solar winds and travel around space with that?
I can find space on my bar to lift this alcohol and pour it into your glass.
It's a pretty good question, isn't it?
It's a pretty good question. Again, I refer to my knowledge of Count Dooku's spacecraft, which appeared to harness solar wind to move itself through the galaxy to commit space crimes. That's all I know. I don't know. All I know about solar wind is one conversation we had about the Parker Solar Space Probe. So I'm gonna defer to you on this one.
Before we do that, like Dooku's craft did, he threw the sail thing out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, that has to be what that's an allusion to, right? Is some kind of solar wind. But the thing that I don't think makes any sense about that is Dooku's craft is in deep space far more often than it's anywhere near a star. So I don't see how that would be very effective. I mean, surely solar wind dissipates as it spreads out, right?
Say that one more time?
Well, surely solar wind dissipates the further you get from its source, right?
Yeah, it does. So it's like this. I did some reading up on this. The Japanese actually did it. Like, everybody's like, oh, do solar sails have, how does that work? And the Japanese are like, whoosh, let's launch one. What are we doing? And they had this really clever design. It's a thing called the Icarus is the name of their satellite. Ikaros. I would have to look up what that means. I don't know what it means.
Really? It has a K? It's not a C?
No, it's not. But Icarus, obviously, and, was Icarus a Greek or a Roman mythological story? Greek? Tell me the story. I would like to hear you tell me about Kid Icarus, because most of the stuff I know comes from video games.
Okay, well, Icarus was this character who was eager to supplant the authority and achievements of his dad, who was like a great builder or something. I don't remember his name, but it's famous. His dad had made the thing where the Minotaur lives, the maze. What's the word for it? David?
Labyrinth. Yeah.
Thank you. The Labyrinth on the island of Crete, which a lot of people think is Atlantis. And so it's a lot to live up to. And so Icarus keeps wanting to achieve greater and greater things. And so trying to imitate his father's craftsmanship, he makes these wings and uses some kind of wax, I think it was, to stick them to his back. So then he achieved flight, and he was like, I can do whatever I want because I've achieved flight. And so he decided to fly as far as he could, and he flew up close to the sun, and the sun got too hot, and it melted the wax, and the wings came off, and then he fell back to Earth, and he died.
He did die, though, in the
I think so.
The myth? Interesting.
I don't know. You want me to go look it up?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm satisfied. Yeah, it's an interesting story about like trying to out-dad your dad or trying to be better than your dad. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. So this spacecraft that the Japanese made, a solar sail is basically you put a presented area out there facing the sun or facing away from the sun, however you look at it. And what you can do is you can actually get force, like Newtonian force, on the surface of this sail just by light pressure, right? I remember when I was young, we used to go to ham radio festivals, which is a thing. And the biggest ham fest in the world was in Dayton, Ohio. And every year in Dayton, there was like some little gadget or toy that seemed to be all the rage. And by the way, that's the first time I heard about lithium batteries was at Dayton, Ohio at a ham fest. Huh. Yeah, it was a big deal. Polymer batteries. We were like, polymer, that's plastic. Yeah, lithium plastic batteries. We were like, what? So it was kind of a neat thing. But they had these little toys called radiometers. Have you ever heard of those?
No, I've not.
So a radiometer looks like a light bulb. It's the same shape. It's made out of glass, except it's clear. And on the inside, there's a needle sticking straight up. And on this needle, there rests it looks like I'm not going to say a windmill, but because it's horizontal. You've seen these horizontal windmills, right, with the helical type airfoil on them. Basically, it's 4 paddles.
Wait. A horizontal windmill?
Yeah, you've never seen those?
You mean like if you lifted the case off of an outdoor air conditioner, like the fan that just sits there and points up, like to...
Yeah, kind of like that. Exactly.
Okay.
Kind of like that, only instead of a fan with just, slanted planes around the central rotational axis, it looks like a helix. Like if you could take a strand of DNA and turn it up on its side.
Yeah.
You've seen those, right?
Mm-hmm. I can picture it now.
Yeah. Those are windmills, and they use an airfoil design to do it. They're really clever. I've often thought it would be really cool to put those in the middle of a road, like an interstate. You've seen like these concrete things on interstates, the barrier. Yeah. How cool would it be to put a bunch of those little vertical windmills or horizontal windmills, however you think about them. I guess they're technically vertical windmills. Put those straight down the interstate and just generate electricity for things like lights on the road itself.
I love ideas like that. Have you flown into Denver?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you did because you flew in there for the eclipse.
Right.
Did you ride the train from one terminal back to the baggage area?
I can't say that I remember it if I did.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then Alan Roach is like, welcome to Denver International Airport. And it is sexy.
Yes.
Holy cow. That guy's the voice of the Minnesota Vikings now. He's very talented. Whatever the case, when you're on the train, the sights and sounds are Alan Roach's voice, the little jingle-dingle-dingle thing that it does, and then the whole corridor is lined with these tiny little fans, like you'd imagine children on the boardwalk in Atlantic City in the 1920s carrying along
the little pinwheels.
Yeah, the little pinwheel things. And they all kind of spin as the trains go by. And I think the idea is they're recapturing energy from the train. I have no idea if it actually does anything or not because it seems like there are fewer every time I look. But the principle, I really dig.
They're there for a reason. Like if you have an
they were there for a reason at first. I just am not sure it worked.
Well, I see what you're saying. But it could be for airflow. Like, it could be to generate turbulence and to create a stronger boundary layer or a more distant boundary layer on the, it might be to create a different type of flow in the train tunnel. Because
clever, man. I never thought about that.
Like if you have a pipe, so water, there's something called a boundary condition. So water tries to stay at the same velocity as whatever it's touching. And
I learned that from a video I saw recently on laminar flow.
Yeah, exactly. And so as you go away from the edge of the pipe, the water shears more and you can pick up velocity, right? And there's all kinds of things that engineers do to try to make flow more laminar or more turbulent. And what you're saying there sounds like it would tend to make the flow more turbulent, but I don't know why they would want to do that because obviously that's dumb. Everybody knows laminar flow is best. So
Yeah, that seems to be a popular opinion for the last 36 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so getting back to this solar satellite, this light sail. So the Japanese did a really clever thing. And the question, getting back to the question that was asked by Tater Attack, was can you generate lift using solar winds? And the answer is kinda. Because as I understand a sail, like on a sailboat, you have a keel of the ship down in the water. And the whole reason it works is because you're pushing against the water. So like as the wind is blowing in one direction, you turn the sail and you push against the water to go in a certain direction, right? Like you can move laterally.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is in space there's nothing to push against. So no, you can't push against the nothing in order to tack into the solar wind. This is, look, just straight up, this is Destin's understanding. I'm not referencing a book right now. This is the way I understand physics to work. I would love it if I'm wrong about this, because that would mean we could do so much more stuff.
Let me think that through for a second. Okay. What you're describing definitely makes sense when you're talking about rowing.
Yeah.
When you put an oar in the water, the only reason you move is the pressure exerted against another surface. And
yeah.
Theoretically, if there were 2 layers of water and you could dip all the way down into something more viscous but still float on something less viscous like water, you could row even faster because you can only go as fast as you can push against the thing in which you're floating.
Oh, that is a fun idea. That is a fun idea. Yeah, like if you reach your paddle out and push against the bank, as you do when you're pushing off in a kayak.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm not sure it works the same way when you sail. I think that just moves things because, I mean, you can put a sail in the air and it's not working against anything other than a little bit of air, and it still generates movement. It puts lift into the sail. I mean, it'd be sloppy and out of control. You wouldn't be able to, I mean, you'd have to build mechanisms to control it. But to me, it seems like if you tried to row in space, that would be an obvious failure. But it feels like if solar wind is something that's measurable, as you suggest it is with the Parker solar probe conversation, why couldn't you generate lift? I mean, isn't anything that would move over like a foil or a sail, couldn't it theoretically generate lift even if it's just a little bit?
Well, it moves. So I think the answer is you can generate force, or not generate force. You can like receive momentum from the sun, which you can equate to like a force of thrust, right? And so what I read said that if you had like an 800 meter by 800 meter sail, you could get about a Newton of force out of that. 800
meter by 800 meter.
Yeah, that's what I read.
A Newton, like a firm flick.
Yeah, that's what what do you mean a firm flick? What does that mean?
Well, how much is a Newton? I mean, that's not much over the course of 800 meters by 800 meters.
You know, I feel a little embarrassed right now because I don't have when I think of a pound, I can picture a pound, but I don't have a Newton in my head. Like, hey, go pick up a pack of cards or something like that. I'm a little embarrassed by that. That's interesting. Huh.
Well, but a Newton's a measure of force, right? Like I think of it as like how hard you'd shove something.
Chug something?
Shove.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So a Newton's like 0.2 pounds.
Yeah, like a firm flick.
What do you mean flick? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, if I walk up to you and flick you like about as hard as I can.
Like a thump?
Yeah, like a thump. Like like.
Do you call like thumping somebody with your finger? You call that flicking them?
A thump is when you stick out your middle knuckle and make a fist with the rest of your hand and tap somebody right on their solar plexus, right on their, like the middle of their chest. Thump.
Like knocking on a door is a thump to you?
Yeah, it's like a sailor tap or a thump. Thump.
Really?
Yeah, a flick.
No.
A flick is when you make like that sign of the devil that they warned us about back when we were kids, and you take your middle finger and you push it against your thumb and build up all this force, and then finally, you let it go. That's a flick.
That is fascinating. We use different words for that. I use the word...
We should do a podcast. We're different.
So we used to play this game in junior high called Thump Knuckles. And you put your hands together and you hold them out, and the other person gets to thump your hand as hard as they can.
It sounds like a middle school game. Okay.
Yeah, we called it Thump Knuckles. And so when you thump something, it's like when you make a circle with your middle finger and your thumb, and you just, I'll thump, you thump something.
Yeah. Yeah. Here. Thump.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is knocking.
That's a flick.
That's knocking on a door. That's interesting. I've never heard it called a flick.
No, I would also say thump as a thing that an authority figure might use if somebody is being unruly and out of control in like an encounter with a policeman or something, and they don't like really want to hurt somebody, but they want to get their attention. So they might give them a little bit of a thump.
I like this discussion. Wow, man.
Yeah. So a flick.
We just went from Greek
the
mythology to Japanese
Yes.
spacecraft to,
Yes.
the philology associated with junior high activities. That's interesting.
All in an imaginary bar.
That's neat. Here, let me land the plane, or let me
No,
land.
no, not yet. Not yet. One question.
Okay.
So when you play paper football, what do you do to the football when you kick a field goal?
You thump it.
You flick it. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
No, you
Dude,
flick that.
That is heavy.
It's so weird how wrong you are.
This is the most important discussion we've ever had.
Yeah. It's weird how long we were sort of friends,
Yeah.
and that was cool,
Yeah.
but it's neat that it's gone deeper.
Oh, God, you're making me do the wheezy laugh. Okay, so...
0.2 pounds is a Newton.
Yeah.
Can that move a sail?
Oh, definitely. So the cool thing about that is, okay, so imagine you're going to go on a deep interplanetary mission, like to Pluto or something like that. Or I guess some people would argue Pluto's not a planet, but let's say you're going to Neptune. So you can do it with chemical energy, but the cool thing about this is that light pressure from the sun is always there. And so if you want to use like an ion thruster and you want to carry a bottle of xenon with you, for example, and you want to shoot little, pieces of xenon out the back of your spacecraft at really, really high velocities, that's going to give you some thrust, like a very, very low thrust, millinewtons or whatever. I don't know actual units of thrust on ion thrusters. I should.
Impulse power.
Yeah. So when you talk about rocket engines, the gas mileage is called specific impulse. That's how that works, and it's measured in seconds. Just roll with it. So so long story short, you have to take your fuel with you on these long duration space missions. The cool thing about solar sails is that you have to take no fuel with you. You just have to put more or less presented area in front of the sunlight, and then that's how you vary your thrust. It's like when you put your hand outside of the car when you're a kid, and you turn your hand upright and you catch more wind, and it pushes you back real hard, so you feather it down and you put less presented area in that wind. You can do that with sunlight. And so if you have the ability to control the attitude of your spacecraft, you can present more to the sun, or you can turn it off and like feather.
Yeah, it's tacking.
But no, it's not tacking. My understanding of tacking is you present a certain angle to the wind, and then you are pushing against the water underneath your boat, and that's making you go in a direction opposite of the direction of the wind. Like the wind.
Yeah, you tack into wind.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what you were saying, was that you could use a solar sail to move even at an angle that would eventually take you toward the sun. Are you not saying that?
I am not saying that.
You could only use it to go away.
Yeah, if I wanted to do what you just described, what I would do, just thinking about orbital mechanics, is I would put myself on a highly elliptical orbit using that solar sail, knowing that Kepler is going to bring me back towards the sun. And so I would figure out how to come back to the sun by how I go away from it, using the sun. That's what I would do.
How prominent is debris in space outside of orbit?
There's a lot of it, but there's way more space.
It just seems like a solar sail would have to be huge based on the figure you just gave me.
Yeah.
Like it would have to be an unbelievably gigantic mechanism that would come out of the front of a vessel to pull it away from the sun. How is that thing not going to get cut to shreds by debris that it runs into? Because it would have to be light.
Space is way more empty than you think, is the upshot to your question.
But what if it's only 99.99999999999% empty and you happen to run into that 0.000 whatever one? I mean, it wouldn't take much to wreck a space sail.
Yeah, I mean, micrometeorites hit the International Space Station all the time. I mean,
but it's made of metal.
It is, yeah. But even a tiny, tiny little micrometeorite going at, a fraction of the speed of light. I mean, I'm not saying they go that fast. I mean, I guess everything's fraction of the speed of light, but they can do some crazy damage. Like there's a PhD guy that was talking to me about what I should pursue, and his whole area of research was on micrometeorite impacts on spacecraft, and it's fascinating. But I want to tell you what the Japanese did to be clever.
Tell me. Yeah.
So when you stick your hand out the window and you were to present the area to the wind or feather it away and have less presented area, that's neat and it's good, but it takes a lot of energy to turn a spacecraft, right? Would you agree?
I wouldn't think it would take that much energy to turn a spacecraft in space, actually. That's counterintuitive to me.
It takes power. If you have reaction wheels, that's one way you could do it. But listen to what these guys did, and this is so ingenious. JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency, they have a large solar sail with built-in LCD crystals, like liquid crystals. So what they can do is they can turn on and off different parts of the sail and make it opaque or transparent at any point in time. So imagine a sail in front of you. The sun is to your back, and you have this large square in front of you. And you have 4 quadrants. It's like a Cartesian coordinate plane. You have 4 quadrants to that sail. And you say, you know what I want to do right now? I want to turn my spacecraft to the right. So what they'll do is they'll make the right 2 quadrants transparent, and they'll make the left 2 quadrants opaque. And that will apply...
Because it's not wind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like having a wind turbine that you can choose if you want to make the blades invisible or not. It's like having a kite that you can turn parts. Isn't that genius?
That's genius. And
yeah, it's amazing.
That'd work.
Yeah.
It wouldn't give you full access to everything. I mean, you'd still only be able to move a certain, in a certain radius, a certain range away from the source of the solar wind.
Exactly, yeah.
But you could do a lot with it.
Exactly.
I mean, it could cut your energy consumption by 40% on turning alone.
Okay, I'm looking here at the Wikipedia page for solar sails. It says the total force exerted by 800 by 800 meter solar sail is 5 newtons or 1 pound, 1.1 pounds. So I told you the wrong numbers earlier, but that's a significant amount of force. And so, for example, the International Space Station, way up there in orbit, it still has drag up there. There are still fractions of a fraction of atmosphere up there. And so it slowly has drag and it starts falling back to Earth. And so every once in a while they have to reboost and do things like that. 1.1 pounds persistent, like forever. Like if you were able to do that, or...
That would eliminate that need to boost.
Exactly. Or you could turn off, using your fancy liquid crystals, you could turn off the solar sail as you're heading towards the sun. But every time you go around the Earth and you're heading away from the sun, if you turn those sails on, you turn them opaque, it would pull you further away from the sun. You could go into a higher orbital inclination. How cool is that?
Yeah, and you just do it on every lap.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a perfect orbit, but it would be effective.
Yeah, but I mean, it's all math, and we could totally figure it out. I mean, that's like a simulation that you and I can understand the math behind that. And so these guys that are smart enough to come up with that sort of thing, I mean, these orbital mechanics guys and gals at NASA and all these people, they're brilliant. So how cool is that, man?
If you hooked me up to an MRI when we talk, it would look completely different when I am explaining to you stuff from my world than when I'm trying to use the same brain to apply casual reason to the stuff that you study. Because the same reason from your world applies to my world, and the same reason from my world applies to your world. It's just that when I'm not trained in how to do it, it's all like I'm trying to add up intuition and experience and stuff that's happened and that I've observed but never really thought about or categorized. I'm trying to do it all at once. And so I get a little bit quiet when we're talking, but it ain't from boredom. It's just it accesses a different part of my brain, and I really like it.
Yeah. And so like hooking you up to an MRI when I'm talking is very similar to how I feel differently when you're talking and I'm hooking myself up to a shop vac.
We're adults. We have families and jobs.
I shouldn't talk about that stuff. Okay, cool.
No, that's just an observation, unrelated. Okay, I have one last question.
Isn't it weird that we're adults? I was thinking about that today as I was buying a water heater because ours broke. I was like, man, this is something my dad would have done.
That's an adult thing to do.
We don't have hot water at the house. Well, Daddy's got to go get a hot water heater.
Yeah, and Daddy's got to bring in a coupon from a competitor to see if they'll price match.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I don't do that. Did you do that?
No, I didn't. It was an emergency. No. I had hours to buy a hot water heater. So, can I help you, sir?
Yeah, I guess I had just one more question about things.
What's your name there, sir? I'm Tater
My
Attack.
name's Dr. Stivburl. My name's Dr. Stivburl.
Okay, what's up?
And I guess what I wanted to know was why do people always watching a Star Trek?
One more time, Dr. Stivburl. Why are people always?
Yeah, remember I am a doctor.
Okay, sorry.
My question is, why do people always watching a Star Trek? Lowercase star, lowercase trek.
Those are the funniest ones, aren't they? When people show up and they don't even have the proper grammar.
Or just what does that question mean? Why is Star Trek popular? Shall we interpret it that way?
Well, I mean, if you went to the actual post, did they flesh out the idea or the question?
Yeah, let me zip back over here.
I do like it when people that listen to the podcast see these questions and they're not a total jerk to the people. I really like that a lot.
When are people a total jerk? I think they're great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and we've picked a few of these questions that are just ludicrously funny. I mean, they're goofy, like way out there.
I think there's going to be a even further inside joke now when these travelers stumble into the subreddit and like, oh goodness, you know what we should do? We should put a link to the subreddit at the top of the show notes so people can just go, like, if you're into Reddit, you could subscribe to that. That'd be rad.
I think it's a good idea. I've looked it up. The follow-up question is, why do people always watching a Star Trek? ! And then there is no further clarification.
Hey, man, there you go. Let me address one thing, though.
Okay.
We've been asked several times to put a note in the sidebar of the subreddit to explain that this is a subreddit for a podcast.
No.
Why?
Well, why would we ruin all the fun? I think it's the goofiest subreddit on the internet. I absolutely love it. Oh gosh, what was the one? There was one, on that Hickey thread from Way to Go Larry.
Yeah. The
top comment on it is from Wilda666, and it simply says, "This sub needs moderation." Your question was not answered, Way to Go Larry. Instead, you caused an existential crisis for all the other users of the subreddit.
Yeah. Anyway, that was fun.
Here's my observation for the day.
What's that?
We picked some really deep, complex, good questions. We picked some goofy questions that looked, frankly, more like possibly drunken typos. But the thing is, I feel like it once again proves that there really is no such thing as a dumb question, because everything can prompt a conversation. There's something good to think about. We had a good conversation about the Hickey thing. We did science together over the Hickey question.
Yeah.
So we kind of ribbed some of the questioners a little bit, but I feel like I would like to just announce to you, my friend, and to the third chair, that I'm grateful to the people who typed in these questions and made it happen, and I'm grateful that they gave us something to talk about.
Me too. And I'm super thankful for the person who compiled all the questions. They went through the entire subreddit and they went back and they compiled every single time a drunken stranger walked into the bar. They compiled it. So a big thank you to, was Mr. Overy, right? Mivovery. Yeah.
Mivovery.
Yeah.
Man, that is a tough one. Yeah, no kidding. And keep that coming. Can we do this again? Because this was really fun. It doesn't have to be in a bar next time. We can set it somewhere else, but we should do this again.
That sounds good. I'm game. And this was a blast. Yeah.
Okay. All right. More to come.